team, welcome to the video. If you're returning, it's great to have you back. And if it's your first time here, then what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. Welcome to the Double A family.
Question of the video today. What is your most embarrassing gym story or any kind of embarrassing story to do with when you were playing a sport or training?
I have to say, you guys didn't disappoint in one of my previous videos when I asked you about your most embarrassing story, and I've chosen my favourite one. Drum roll please. We had the random Robinator with his most embarrassing story when he met a YouTuber that had never had a Krispy Kreme in his life. You had to give him one. Oh my goodness, I can totally relate to you, man. How could you not have had a Krispy Kreme in your life? Then we had Mr. Bob. His embarrassing story at the age of 16 in 1981, in my first week as an exchange student in Germany. The police stopped him for running a bike through a red light, and then he didn't know how to explain bikes were toys in America. They asked me if I understood Rot get gruen, and then they let him go. I love that, that's great. Bob and Robbie had some great stories there, but I have to say, Gavilar, I'm choosing your embarrassing story as the top one. Being caught by a security guard that your parents knew when you're being a bit frisky with a woman is very good. You have got the most embarrassing story. Good man. If you want to check out Gavilar's channel, go ahead and check it out now. By the way, is this weird? You're going to go back in time this second so you can see the start of the day, but I've just managed to hold on for a wee for about 5.5 hours. That's a bit weird, and I'm not even desperate right now. That's not good. Let me take you back in time to the start of the day so you can see some great content. Well, let's just say this session taught me a lesson, because I was planning on going into the gym and doing some snatches, but they have 4 deadlift platforms with where the squat racks are, and they're all taken. So I decided to practice some ring muscle-ups, because I haven't probably done them in about 2 months. And when I first tried to do one, I'd completely forgotten how to transfer the momentum to get above the rings, and it was a little bit embarrassing because I just looked like a floppy fish trying to get above some rings but failing miserably. But then, after a little bit of practice, it started coming back to me, and these are by no means perfect at all, because it's definitely a movement I'm still trying to improve on, because I catch myself at the very, very bottom of the movement. I think there's the bottom of the movement, and then how I'm catching it. My shoulders are in a very stretched position, so I'm trying to learn to catch it a little bit higher. But I'm going to show you a little... See, look, I failed on that one just there, but I'm going to show you a little exercise that you can do if you want to improve your ring muscle-ups in just a second. But if you haven't got your first ring muscle-up yet, then I found personally a good mental cue. As you're getting, obviously you need to learn the kip before trying to ring muscle up. Learning the kip on the rings, that's quite difficult, and I can go over that in a video if you want me to. But it's all about keeping your legs together and really trying to project your legs upwards and really thrust your hips as they are coming through and towards the ceiling, and then trying to head like a football forwards aggressively. But this is the exercise that I said I was going to show you, and I'm standing on a box, you can't see it, but I'm getting used to trying to thrust with my hips, a little bit with my knees, and get myself above the rings. Then after that, I moved on to doing some chest, because I was planning on doing some bodybuilding stuff after the snatches. So here, I'm using 70 kg for a set of 10 repetitions, which was pretty smooth. I managed to get 80 kg for a set of 5, which was, I don't think it's a PR, but it's something I haven't touched in a while, so it felt pretty good. Moved on to some dumbbell presses after doing some seated pec deck fly and some rear delt flies as well. And this is pretty cool as well, because I remember a few years ago when trying to touch 30 kg dumbbells after doing a load of chest stuff, it wasn't going to happen. It wouldn't have happened, but now, after doing quite a lot of chest volume, I can go to 35 kg dumbbells and rep them out for about 8 to 10 or even 8 to 12 sometimes. So they felt pretty good. So if you ever are struggling with motivation and you're wondering if you're making any progress, you need to try and remember all the small things that you are making progress in. So sometimes it might not just be, say if you did like 4 sets of 10 at a certain weight with overhead press, and you've been stuck at that weight for a while, you need to remember that maybe 3 weeks earlier, 4 sets of 10 of that same weight may have felt a lot more difficult than a few weeks later in the future. So you just need to remember those small things, rather than just thinking about, have I increased the weight or have I increased the sets and repetitions. Sometimes try and think about how you feel. Sometimes think, have I done exercise before this exercise, to see if you're able to work under a bit of fatigue. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video, guys, and make sure you stick around for the end. It's Monday. I've just come back from Dual Strength and Fitness Gym where did some muscle ups and then chest, just because I was going to do some snatches, but I've actually decided I'm going to do that tomorrow morning because it was so busy at the gym and I couldn't get a bar, unfortunately, or a platform. But now I am having lunch, chicken tikka slices. You haven't seen this on the channel for a while. And then I'm having dyed cocoa with some couscous and egg. And I'm going to put some BBQ sauce on top. There's a really good, if you've got Tesco or Sainsbury's, look out for the reduced sugar and salt barbecue sauce, because regular barbecue sauce, I think per serving is roughly about 20 calories, but for that it's half, it's 11 calories. Really, really good. I've got to go back out in about 35 minutes because I've got 3 PT sessions, and then, yeah, sorry, that's a hand of a weightlifter. I'm sure you guys can relate. It's not just old skin. I don't have like an 80-year-old hand and then a 24-year-old face and a 12-year-old voice. But I've got to build something later and I'm going to show you what that is. But not yet, because I've got to leave you wanting more, obviously. Who knows that sound? Cheers, and I'll see you very soon. Don't spill it, mate. Alright team, we are back. It is now nearly 10 o'clock. This evening I was supposed to show you my new toy, but I'm going to have to do that a little bit later on, just because sessions went a little bit longer. And it's freezing now outside. I think eventually, as we get into December, we're going to have to start using frostbite to our advantage, because it will help with grip on the bar. For dinner this evening, we're having galamon, also known as gammon, I think with vegetables. And something I wanted to quickly address for you guys doing your weight training, especially if you're new. I get this quite a lot in sessions when people have started out just doing press-ups and anything that requires wrist flexion or extension. They always say to me, oh, my wrists are hurting quite a lot after sessions. And obviously, if you had somebody come up to you with a baseball bat, you put your wrist out and then they went kabam, then obviously your wrist would hurt in a bad way. It probably would be broken and you'd need to go and check it out at hospital. But if, like the majority of people, if you're doing your exercises correctly, you're doing your press-ups and you're doing your overhead presses with your wrist in a flex position and you're having to move weight, and then afterwards you're like, oh, my wrist is hurting, I'm not sure if I should be doing this. It's just because your body It's just because your body is having to adapt to the weight training exercise and this new stimulus. So keep persisting with it. If it gets really like annoying and niggly, then just give it a day or two rest, then go back to it. And as you keep persisting, after a few weeks, your body will adapt to it and then it'll feel really comfortable. Like, sorry, I just burped. Like, for example, when I first started doing snatches, when I was holding a barbell overhead, my wrists were like, what the flip are you doing to us? So I kept persisting with it, and after a week I was fine. So you just have to keep on going. Just be like, I can do this, and then your joints will stop hurting. But as I said, if you have somebody hit you with a baseball bat on your wrist, go and get it checked out, because that type of pain is not good. I've got to go put my bike away. Let's go say hello to my parents, and yes, food. Okay. It's now 11:04 on Tuesday. I'm not sure exactly what the date is, but I don't know if you guys are the same, but I always get worried that I don't lock the car, so I have to lock it at least 25 times to make sure that I've locked it. Now let me just show you a little update. But now that has gone because a massive container is coming, and I'm hoping to maybe get a few new bits of equipment. I've got my new toy that I need to build and eventually show you, but I haven't finished it yet. But now I've got a session at 11:10, then 12:25, then I've got to go home for a Zoom call. So here we go, let's try to set up the equipment as quickly as possible. I don't think all of you have seen my equipment yet, so I'm going to give you a very quick whistle-stop tour of all the equipment I have that I got from within the dark cave. So we start off with this broom that I use to sweep up leaves, very kindly given to me by a great lady I train who's very inspirational spiritually and very encouraging as well. Then if we walk down this lovely, very professional looking piece of concrete, then we've got battle ropes, we've got the 20 kilo plates, a rowing machine, dip station with a resistance band on it, fitness bike, squat stands, then we've got the pull-up tower, so we've got dips and pull-ups on there, nice pile of leaves, then we've got the easy bar, barbell, gym mats, so we've got a decline bench and a normal flat bench under there, then a load of plates. I think I've got up to about 250, 300 kilos. Then we've got a little pulley station there, dumbbells, boxing gloves, and yeah, resistance bands and stuff. But obviously some of this stuff I can't use because of COVID-19 at the moment, having to be very careful. I just can't get too close to people, having to keep that social distancing stuff going, and I've got a nice slam ball under there. I'm going to get all the equipment set up. I don't know if you can see me, you'll probably just see my silhouette, but I am, just before I'm going to do that, I'm going to get open a Pepsi Max, because Diet Pepsi, sorry, because it's essential to perform better having your Diet Pepsi days. Cheers everybody. How are you doing? Are you alright? Have you got anything to say? Alright, we've just finished up 2 sessions at the gym of Alberto, and then I came back, did a Zoom session. Now it's 4:10. I'm about to get some food. Gonna have some chicken tikka with couscous, which you've seen before, and then later on I'm going to be doing an Evo session where we're maxing out on our snatches, which I'm quite interested to see how I get on, but that's going to be in the next video. But first, before you leave, you can't leave yet, I've got a few tips for you. If you haven't got one of these yet, a weightlifting belt, and you're new to weightlifting, or you've got a few years experience, then I would still recommend you get a belt. Don't rely on it all the time, but I think it's really good for practicing how to brace your core properly, because if you have a belt, usually people put it on way too tight and then they can't even breathe, and then sometimes they get marks around the midsection because it's just so tight on them. But having it pretty tight, just so there's a tiny little gap, like a thumb's gap, between the belt and your torso, then you can get practicing at how to clench your stomach and push against the belt, and that's really good for practicing that when you're doing the squat, when you're doing a deadlift. So even in daily life, when you're picking things up like in the garden or something, you will have already practiced how to brace your core and lower back properly, so you're lifting it in the correct way. So I'd recommend you getting a belt. You can get them off Amazon for like 15-20 quid. They're really affordable, but see it more as an investment rather than a purchase just because it's going to be something that you're going to have for life. A new friend. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. The full day of eating is coming up, where I'm wearing one of those caps that you guys voted on. I can't reveal it now because then that wouldn't be a surprise. In my next video, the snatches are coming up, and more training footage, more food, more of Dana. I mean, more. Man, I want to get on a roll. I seem to get tongue twisted. I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Peace out. Have a good week.